Well, it's my privilege today to introduce our dear friend and brother, James Scotty Scott. James has been a minister with the Unity Church going back to 1993. He also used to work with does some work with the school system and does poetry readings for children, and he introduces the element of humor. And I think your nickname was the Loud Poetry Guy. And so this morning I noticed when Scotty was walking up the stairway here, I was right behind him. He looked a little weak, and I said, "How are you doing today, Scotty?" And he says, "Well, I just spent the last 2 days in the hospital. I just got home yesterday, and my wife says you got to call the fellowship and say, you need the counselor because your health is a little weak." Scotty says, "I'm going to the fellowship," and then there's more. So this morning he gets up. Scotty's telling me your blood sugar is supposed to be something like between 90 and 140 or 150, and he did a test and his blood sugar was 30. And he has a nurse friend, and the nurse says, "Just drink some orange juice," which is high sugar, and he went back up to 130. So Scotty says, "I'm still going." So, I'm sharing this story with you because to me this is just I just can't say the words how much I appreciate you're going through all this and you're here for us because of your love, really. So come on up, Scotty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. World peace. That'll happen when the Cubs go to the World Series again. Oh, wait, they are. Well, it's good to be here. Boy, and especially after the last few days, it's good to be anywhere. Man, gee whiz. It's funny, I wrote my talk title down about 2 weeks ago. And I said, okay, put this aside, and I need to write the talk sometime soon. And then Friday of last week, I spent the day driving up to Harrisonburg. My older daughter was getting married the next day. And so Saturday we did the wedding, and I got to give my daughter away. And it was funny because my daughter and her partner have been living together for about 8 years now, and they finally decided to get married. And so here you've got two dads walking two brides down the aisle. First off, I said, you got to make sure you got the aisle wide enough. They got big dresses. And there's going to be a total of 4 of us walking side by side, so make sure you got enough aisle. They did, and it was a beautiful wedding. And then after that, I got very ill. All of a sudden, it's one of the side effects of my chemotherapy, is that my stomach starts to get uncomfortable. And I just can't eat much for 2 or 3 days, and then it goes away. So worked through all of that over the weekend, got here, and on Monday, it just wasn't getting any better. Started to get worse. First time I've ever had intense pain in my abdomen. And I mean, I've had this stuff for, over 2 years. So I'm like, this is not good. So I go through the week, taught some classes on Thursday, had a finance committee. It's always fun in a finance committee meeting when you don't feel good. Because you already feel like this is a pain anyway. So, and now it's a bigger pain. So went through all of that. So finally on Friday, I said, okay, that's it. I'm taking Friday off. I wasn't supposed to go in it, but I took Friday off. Well, by 3 a.m., Friday into Saturday, I was, actually no, it's Thursday into Friday, I was in the hospital. I was at the emergency room. I said, I can't take this pain anymore. And I don't succumb to pain well. I just as soon take 27 Advil and get back to bed, but this just hurt. And so they did all this, CAT scan thing and everything. And they said, okay, what you got is a partial abdominal blockage. I went, great, so fix it. Get the partial abdominal blockage machine and fix it. There's not much we can do until it just unblocks itself. Well, great, that's wonderful. Can you call Roto-Rooter? Who can you call that's going to do something about this? Well, not a person, So my body decides to take care of everything, and all of a sudden, things started to clear up. And I'm like, this is great. Because I had class to teach yesterday morning at Renaissance. Well, I did have to cancel that. But I kept saying, I'm going to be at the fellowship on Sunday morning. No doubt about it. I'm going to the fellowship. And so it all did clear up. By noon yesterday, they sent me home. And I had said, I'm going home. But before that, at 9 o'clock in the morning, they had taken my blood sugar now, as Bruce mentioned, it's supposed to be between 90 and 120 in your fasting glucose level. And so you panic if it goes below 70. Well, in the hospital, it was at 65. And they panicked. So they're bringing me these little cups of apple juice and orange juice, and here's some milk, and here's some this, and, because of the abdominal stuff, I'm not supposed to eat any food. I said, I got a bag of candy corn back in my room. I could just go back to my room and eat an entire bag of candy corn. I bet that glucose level shoots up through the roof. So, but they just made me drink all these little juices. So I drank all these little juices, and it got up to about 80, and they said, okay, now go home. So I go home, and so I get up this morning, and I checked my glucose, and it was a 30, and it's like, ooh. I said, okay, now I have a choice. I can either drink more orange juice than I've ever drunk in a short period of time, or I can drift off into a hypoglycemic coma. So, choice of speaking at the fellowship or being in a hypoglycemic coma. Now, as much as it sounds like a good idea to be in a coma, I think I'd rather come here and share with you guys this morning. So now the funny thing is, when I got home yesterday evening and looked at my talk title was Be Flexible. Well, I kind of wrote that one out in front, didn't I? So I wanted to talk to you today, besides about all of my medical issues. And by the way, now I'm on Medicare. As of September 1st, I'm on Medicare. So I have my part A, B, D, and G. I got all these parts and cards and everything. And I still don't know if I'm handed people. Do you have your card with you? I have several. Which ones do you want? I got the King of Cups. I don't know. Have this and have that. So now I've wandered through Medicare, so now I'm doing that, and it's just, life is an amazing experience, and we just keep going at it. And I hear people who talk about how awful things are, and I appreciate their perception, but everything in your life is a perception. And the reason I wrote down Be Flexible 2-3 weeks ago was because I was aware of somebody who was going through an issue, and they were determined. It was like they were facing a wall, and they were determined to walk through the wall. And I said, that's just going to hurt your forehead after about 27 times. It's not going to work well. Be flexible. What can you do to go under this, around it, through it, over? What can you do to make changes? The power that you have inside you is so absolutely amazing. You have all of the power of God within you. You have spirit within you. Why do you keep acting like a human? Get in there. What kind of power have you got? You remember the guy Reed from the Fantastic Four? He can do all that stretchy stuff. So you remember the toy from the 70s, Stretch Armstrong? You could stretch him across your car. And it was like, so you could get somebody like that, if they can do that with a toy, or you can do it in a comic book. The thing is, if you can think about it in your mind, you can accomplish it. Now, it may not be on this particular dimension. If you think I know I've won the lottery multiple times in other dimensions, and I'm doing real well. It hasn't come over to this one yet, but I'm doing well. I haven't yet bought a baseball team over there or anything yet, but I'm doing well. So you've got to allow for what you are inside, and let that come forward when something comes up in opposition to your position, to where you are, what you want to do. Opposing it, what's the phrase? What you resist persists. You empower it by thinking about it. I got to get this out of my way. No, you don't. Because it's like when people ask for, I want money. No, you don't. You don't really want the money. What you want is what the money's going to generate for you. If you want a house, you want a house. 2 of the last 4 cars I've had, somebody gave me. And each one of them ran about 4 years. So I didn't need the money to buy a car. I needed the car. Because if I got the money, I was going to go buy a car with it. So what is your end result that you really want? Focus on that. So be flexible. Don't think to yourself, I have to have this in order to get this. I want this. I could go around this. I thought with the car thing, I thought the same thing about a house. If there's a developer out there who has an extra house that he hasn't sold and it doesn't seem to be selling well, I will happily take it off his hands so that he can have the tax write-off. I'm willing to sacrifice that much of my life to take an empty house off his hands. And the funny thing is, somewhere out there, it happens every once in a while. So when something stands in opposition to you, it's okay. You know, there are people who get a cancer diagnosis and go, "Oh, my life is over." You know? And as I said here about a year ago, I must have the happy kind of cancer. Because I'm going through this and I don't feel bad. Except for this last week, I felt weird. But I'm not going through the suffering that people go through with different types of cancer. The type that I have is reversible. We're working on it. The tumor markers keep dropping. I'm hoping that within a year we'll be done with it. You know, it's been 27 months already. But there are people who have similar types of cancer who immediately say, "My life is over. That's it. I've got cancer. There's the wall. I can't go past it." Well, I'm going to tell you, whatever it is that's out there, if you choose to, you can go past it. You can go around it. Under it, over it. There's lots of things that you can do. In one of the big scene with Dumbledore in Harry Potter, he's at the train station in the afterlife. And Dumbledore's telling him, you can go back or you cannot go back. It's your choice. And with the people that I've talked to who've gone through near-death experiences, some who've gone through death experiences, it's always a choice. I've done several services in the last few years for people who committed suicide. And especially from a couple of friends of mine who were in the Catholic Church. And the relatives of theirs who are staunchly believing Catholics are horrified that somebody would commit suicide. You're going to hell, forever. I'm like, no, it's a choice. You make that choice when you're sitting there going, how's the body? How's the mind? How's this? I had a lady who committed suicide after 6 tries finally succeeded. Well, you only have to get good at it once. But 6 tries, what were the first several? What were they about in that she kept wanting to try, but also kept deciding to fail? So there's a choice there. How flexible, how much of your life do you want to live? And it should never be about other people. It should never be about what am I leaving behind. It should always be about how do I feel? When my mother passed, she had 1 heart attack. She had myocarditis for 30 years. She had 1 heart attack. Went in there after she had been on lower brain function only for a day or so. I said, "Mom, you got 4 kids. We're all in our 40s. We're doing fine. If you can come back into your body and be happy, joyful, live a great life, come on. But if you can't, if this body's beyond repair, go. You did a great job." And within the next 3 or 4 hours, she flatlined every piece of equipment in the room. But that's what it takes. You always have a choice. So when something gets in front of you that you think is in your way, including another motorist on the interstate, get flexible. What are the possibilities? Sometimes you can choose weird possibilities. I went from Jacksonville, Florida to Saratoga one time to speak I was speaking at a church in Saratoga. Saratoga's the one in New York, right? Sarasota. And so here I am, and my little map thing takes me through Gainesville, Florida. Well, that's a great little town to view. It's beautiful. It's got a university. And on Saturday afternoon, they play football games in the fall. It didn't tell me that on my GPS. There was no mention of a football game in Gainesville, Florida, that Saturday afternoon. We were doing easy, 5 to 10 miles an hour tops for 3-4 hours to get through the Florida game site. However, one guy made a choice that I didn't think was a good idea anyway, and that is he decided the traffic on the road was too bad. He was going to take the field next to the road. And he took it at about 50 miles an hour. I mean, this guy's flying down the road and just bouncing along, and all of a sudden you hear this clunk, and the car comes to a dead stop and smoke starts billowing out from underneath where the engine is. I went, okay, I don't think he's going to make it to the game. So there are choices when we get frustrated that we can choose to make, but there are other choices where we can go, I think I'd rather do it this way. I think I'd rather not resist. I think I'd rather go around. I'd rather make this choice rather than make that. And that's what we come up against. Countries doing that when they're trying to decide on borders and boundaries and things. You got to take a look at it. What's going to really be the most spiritual thing that you can do? How powerful are you? Well, the thing is, you're infinitely powerful. But are you using that? Are you putting it to use that way? Or do you think that it's better to raise a fist than it is to raise consciousness? So what do you want to do with all of that? So it's been interesting to see. The last week, and then look at the talk time and go be flexible. Oh yeah, I did that. So, because you never know, even, obviously you know, a week ahead, what could happen to you. What's laying in front of you this afternoon? How flexible can you be with some things that are laying in front of you this afternoon? You know exactly what it is. You know what's waiting for you to deal with, to people you're going to gather with, all that stuff. But other things you may know that you don't want to do. I don't want to go here. I don't want to do that. Well, pick something else. You know, it's always, there's so much stuff out there. There are infinite possibilities in any given moment. Be aware of that. You could do something that you have absolutely never done before. Absolutely. I mean, there's just bazillions of them out there. And just because you're locked into your schedule, you know, don't do that. Try something weird. Get out there and do just something you've never done before, something that you wouldn't even, this morning you didn't ever think possible. Well, now think it. Look at it and say, ooh, you know, I've never done skydiving. I've never stood in the middle of the interstate when the trucks are coming. Don't pick that one. But you have options. You have all these wonderful options that you could go out and help somebody. You could volunteer somewhere that you've never volunteered before and help out. There are so many opportunities for you to be of service to the world in so many different ways. You know, the guys that I dislike their actions of sitting down during the national anthem. It's like you're disrespecting the country and the flag, and you're not doing anything. I call them the pouty millionaires. You know, they're sitting, I appreciate the thought they have, but they're simply presenting themselves on national television to say, I'm unhappy. Oh, I have several million in the bank, but I'm really unhappy. Well, then take some of that several million in the bank and go start a freaking foundation. Go do something about it with your millions, rather than sit on your butt on a football bench and tell me how unhappy you are. Because you're not solving the problem. If you see a problem that bothers you that much, fix it. And that's what you all are capable of doing. Be flexible. If you're not happy with something and you're unhappy enough to voice it, then you're unhappy enough to put that voice to action. So go be flexible. Go do something. Make changes. You can do it on a community level. You can do it within your household. You can start by doing it, whatever it is, within yourself. You have to look and see. Like Kaepernick is saying, I'm not happy about the way the country's treated the African Americans. Colin, it's been going on. You can't back up and change it. But you can change it from this moment forward. But how are you doing that? What are you doing personally to make a difference? What is any of us doing personally for world peace? All of that stuff. Take a look. It's got to start inside of you. So, and then you can lift yourself up from there. You can lift up then your household, your community, the rest of the world. But you got to start here. And you got to know that you are unlimited in the things that you're capable of. Just because, if you can make it happen in your mind, it happens somewhere. Even if you can't physically manifest it here on this planet. But it will happen somewhere. On another planet, another dimension, whatever. You can make it happen. So if you've got that much power, take it a step further. There's all kinds of cool stuff that you're capable of doing. But you got to be flexible. You got to be willing to change your stance or get out of the way of something. Get out of the way of a plan that you thought you had that really wasn't all that good to begin with, but it was the only one you could come up with at the time. So while choosing to either come here and speak this morning or to go into a hypoglycemic coma, I wrote this poem. It's called Be Flexible. I hope I can read it, actually. If you're out in space in the cosmic goo and you see a comet heading for you, don't think, I was here first and here I'll stay. Think a new thought and get out of the way. Be flexible. Be flexible. Put your spiritual foot behind your spiritual head. Be flexible. Be flexible. Come leaping out of your spiritual bed. Got a plan? Get ready to change it. Get your calendar out and rearrange it. Instead of Dr. Spock, let's Dr. Strange it. Be flexible. Say you were sitting around one day at work, and the person behind you is being a jerk. Instead of doing something you probably like taking him out with a missile strike, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Take him out to coffee. Take him out to tea. Take him out for a spot of bacon and brie. Oh, that sounds good. If it doesn't change him, it might change you. Be flexible. Be flexible. Put your spiritual foot behind your spiritual head. See, now I can't do that physically, but I can do it spiritually. I can do that stuff. I can put my foot behind your head, but that would be different and not nearly the challenge. Be flexible. Be flexible. Make all of your M&Ms spiritually red. Shift and move like never before. Drop from the ceiling down to the floor. Walk in backwards through the front door. Be flexible. Thank you.